of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel. And his quote that I've quoted this way every single time I've said it, never let a crisis go to waste. That's actually not the quote.
Right.
And you refresh my memory on this and you go through this part of the quote where he says, never let a serious crisis go to waste. And it needs to be a crisis that can help that will help both parties move into serious change. Can you why is that important?
Yeah, it's important because I think people have a tendency to just sort of, anytime something happens, it's like, well, yeah, they're trying to take advantage of it. And yeah, there is some truth to that, right? On a day-to-day basis, the news cycle, politicians are always trying to take advantage of whatever is happening in the news. But it's the serious crises. Those are the things that they wait for eagerly because that's the big transformative changes. For the most part, our world doesn't really change quickly all that often.
Yeah.
It takes these big moments in history. That's where you see these transformative changes of society that happen. And COVID-19 was that opportunity that they've been waiting for a really, really long time. Now, as the book points out, they still hope climate change is that thing, the longer term justification for it. And they're very, very open about that. But they needed something that was so serious and so severe and deadly and scary to sort of kickstart this thing. And that's what COVID-19 was. It gave them, I mean, they blew up the global economy on purpose. I mean, people always talk about the pandemic and, the economic fallout from the pandemic. No, we don't really know what the economic fallout from the pandemic is. It's the reaction to the pandemic that we all talk about. It's when they closed all these businesses down. That destroying the economy gave them the opportunity in their minds to try to rebuild it in a different way. That's this whole concept of build back better that Joe Biden is always blathering about. And people who all over the world are using that same phrase, build back better, because the idea was we destroyed everything. Now let's build it back better than we had it before. So the climate change is the longer term justification for how they're going to build back society. The whole idea here is this was never sustainable. Our economy was never on a sustainable path. We had to rebuild everything. We had all these big, huge problems that needed to be addressed, and we needed to have this great reset. We've needed it for a long time, but this was our opportunity to do it because people are so resistant to change normally. But now change was forced upon them, and we have this great opportunity to make that happen.
A lot of the stuff you're talking about, you have quotes in here directly from the people's mouths explaining exactly what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. And you go to great lengths. There's hundreds of footnotes that kind of cite exactly where these things came from, who said them. Here's the full quote. Go here for full context. Like, you're not trying to hide any of this. But you get to the sense that they aren't either. And as you read this, I wondered why. Like, why are they so overt and out there telling everyone? Because they have to know a good chunk of the world is not going to want to go along with us.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've asked that question to myself many, many times. I don't know. The weird thing about it is, after this happened, I would say 6 months or so after the Great Reset slogan came out, they had several big events, world leaders from all over the place using this phrase, the Great Reset. They had videos, they had articles posted all over the World Economic Forum. They had an entire website dedicated entirely to this. They had Klaus Schwab, who's the head of the World Economic Forum, sort of the face of the Great Reset, wrote a book called The Great Reset. We did not steal it from him or anything like that for writing this book. But, they were very open about it. And then January 2021, so a year ago, they had this event that was a virtual event with all these big world leaders. It was kind of a replacement for Davos because they had canceled that. And at it, they put out this absolutely incredible video. I wish I had provided it to you. You've got to track this video down. Basically semi-apologizing for using the phrase the Great Reset, acknowledging that it had transformed into this, conspiracy theory thing that they're trying to control the world. And they basically admitted they made a huge blunder, and then they stopped using the Great Reset.
Really?
They don't really use the Great Reset anymore. They've given up on that. They've now called it Davos Agenda. They have a Davos Manifesto that they talk about all the time, because there's nothing weird about manifesto or anything, or Davos.
Everybody loves a good manifesto.
Who doesn't love Davos and manifestos? But that's what they've transitioned to. They've tried to run away from the Great Reset as a phrase because they know how bad this has been for them as a PR move. And so why did they do this? Why were they so open about it? I think it's arrogance. I think the world was in such a bad place that they felt like people are desperate. They will do anything. We are wandering in the desert here, and we're the only ones with water, so that they will do whatever we want. And I think they thought the world was ready for a strong man. That's what I think. And that they were going to be that strong support, that pillar that we could all count on in a crisis. And if we present ourselves as, you know what, this is our opportunity, big optimistic changes, we can transform the world. I think what they didn't count on is that most people did not want the world to be transformed, at least in America. Things were going pretty well, actually, before the pandemic hit. And for most people, life was actually very good. We had historically low unemployment. I mean, it wasn't perfect or anything like that, but certainly in the history of the past 20 or 30 years, it wasn't a low point in American history. And so I think they underestimated that. And they also underestimated how much a lot of people value individual freedom, how much they don't want to hand that over, to how little they trust elites in Davos. But it doesn't surprise me. These people hang out together. They live in a different universe than you or I live in. And they think that people were going to be very receptive to these ideas. And so they put it out there as you know, this is the solution. You can count on us. And it just backfired horribly.
Is there a part of this for them that is a good motivation? Do some of them see this as like, we are going to take control of these things, and we will make it better for all of these people? Well, you know, maybe they don't know what they want, and we're going to make sure that they live a better life that we can kind of guide.
Without a doubt.
It is.
These people have the biggest savior complexes in the world. I mean, now they're all getting rich off of it too.
Well, of course.
So that's
got to be part of it.
But if you can get filthy rich and be the savior of the world at the same time, why not do it, right? I
don't have big enough goals.
Yeah, exactly. That's the attitude that these people have, is it's just, you know, we can save the world and we can get rich in the process, and everyone will be better off for it. And I think they truly do believe that. I mean, Klaus Schwab especially, now some of them are just looking to get rich. I have no doubt about that. But Klaus Schwab especially, and some of these people who are involved heavily in the World Economic Forum, who are the heads of various councils that they have and special projects, these people are working a lot on these different things. They're devoting a lot of their time to it. And I don't think they're making a whole lot of money off of those specific endeavors. I really do believe that they think they're changing the world. I also think they feel a little guilty about the fact that they are, in some cases, you know, they have hundreds of millions of dollars as individuals, or even billionaires.
Rich person guilt.
Board of so for them, it's like, well, this is my way of giving back, you know, right?
Thanks.
I'm going to be the, you know, on the board of directors of the World Economic Forum, and I'm going to transform the world. You're welcome, everyone. And I do think that attitude is real. I think they think that they're making the world a better place.
I believe the great philosopher's Tears for Fears talked about everybody wanting to rule the world, and it's true. I think everybody, you know, it's a fantasy. There's almost a fantasy league aspect to this. Like, what if I was fantasy league king and I could do all these things that I want?